Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Rachel. If this is your first time here, welcome. And if it's not your first time here, thanks for coming back. So today I am going to be ranking some of the newest palettes in my collection. Now, a lot of these aren't brand new, but these are palettes that I have been thoroughly testing, and I do this video about every 6 weeks-ish. I can't really do it monthly just because I have so many new palettes coming into my collection, but basically once I have a batch of palettes that I am done testing, I have my final thoughts on them, I come back on camera to review them for you and give you my thoughts on them, about their formulas, about their color stories, and I do it in a ranking style and basically just rank it based on my own preference. That's really what this comes down to. Most times nowadays when palettes come out, they're not bad quality, most of the time. At least the ones that I am testing, the ones that I'm buying, the ones that I'm receiving in PR, thankfully, 99% of them are really good quality. So it's usually just about preference. So yeah, anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I would love to know your thoughts on these palettes as I'm going through them. Do you have them? Do you love them? Do you agree with my ranking? Do you want them in your collection? Let me know your thoughts. I will link all of the palettes that I can link down below in the description box. Everything that is on my face will also be in the description box. And let's get to ranking these 8 palettes. Coming in at number 8, this is solely a color story thing. I like this palette otherwise. I mean, I like the color story, but I just like everything else more. This is the Gourmand Girls Gourmandise palette. So this is basically a pastel palette for the brand Gourmand Girls. I love the brand Gourmand Girls. I think they have a really good formula. I'm not crazy about the artwork on the outside of the packaging. It's not my favorite artwork they've done, but it's fine. And then on the inside, this is what the color story looks like. If you love colorful makeup, if you are looking for a palette that has pastels in a compact form that has also some mid-tone and deep shades, I think you would really enjoy this. I like the Gourmand Girls setup because most of the time they have a matte heavy palette or at least a 50-50 split matte to shimmer ratio, which I prefer. I don't really love when a palette is mostly shimmer, if I'm being honest with you. So I love that there's only 4 shimmers. The 4 shimmers in here are really pretty. There is a holographic shimmer here called Curacao right here. Very, very pretty. This blue, and it's got a little bit of purple in there. We have Bonbon, which is a very flaky silver shimmer. So I don't love a flaky shimmer. It's not my favorite. We have a duochrome called Grenadine, which is a very smooth, really pretty pink to gold. And then Sorbet is also a duochrome that's like blue to purple. Very, very pretty shimmers, different formulas, which I appreciate. I think the mattes in this are really good. I feel that they're, I mean, I don't know this for sure, but they seem like a slightly different formula. Maybe it's because of the pan size, but they're very pigmented and they're a little more kick up in the pan. Typically with past Gourmand Girl palettes, their mattes are a little more on the silky side that are a little more buildable, but these have really good pigment. This is just a color story that I won't reach for as much as other color stories. I really love neutrals. I really love warm tones. So this is just not like up my alley in terms of color story, but I do suggest this palette. I don't think it's a bad palette, even though it's coming in at number 8. I still enjoy it a lot. So coming in at number 7, I'm grouping 2 palettes together because they feel pretty similarly about them. And these are the 2 little palettes, or 2 of the 4 little palettes Smashbox recently released. These are called the Always On Mood Board eyeshadow palettes. So they sent these 2, by the way, I got this one in PR, the Gourmand Girls one, and I got these in PR as well. They sent me 2 different colorways. The first one here is Bougie Vibes. This one I like slightly less than this one, and it's really because it's very shimmer heavy, and there are a couple of satin shades in here that I don't really love the formula of. I feel like a satin has to be really good formula for me to reach for it, and I just don't love these satins. They're a little more lackluster. They're a little harder to work with. And there's really only 3 mattes in this palette, and they're all really mid-tone. I prefer having light to deep gradient in my palettes. And by the way, I am really trying to rank these based on standalone palettes. Could I absolutely pull in something else from my collection to go with this? Yes. Absolutely. But I'm trying to rank them just based on standalones. I think the shimmers are fine. Like, they're nice. They're good. Like, the formula of this is pretty good. I really enjoyed my look at the end of the day. And this one I like a little bit more. This is earthy vibes. I just prefer this. The color story, I like that there's way more mattes in this palette. We have a deep matte. We have more mid-tone. We have a light matte. We have this even lime green. The mattes are good. Like, they're good. They're fine. I like them. They're not the most revolutionary mattes I've ever used, but they're good. And the shimmers in this are good. This one is a little more shiny, like just like a pure kind of gold. We have this more like terracotta, and then we have this lime green. They're good. Another downside for me with these is the packaging. It feels very, very cheap. It's like plastic, and I definitely feel like for the price, I think these are like $40 each, which is crazy to me for the packaging. And just so you know, when I got these in person, the pans on these are tiny, like way smaller than I thought looking at the pictures, which for me doesn't matter. Like, I'm never going to pan an eyeshadow palette. I don't mind having smaller pans. I maybe wish the price point was a little lower for the smaller pans. But yeah, I think the quality of this is good. Like, they're good. I liked the looks I got out of them. It's just the packaging's a little for me, and I just enjoy other things more. Coming in at number 6, I have the Urban Decay Naked Palette. So this is the original Naked palette. This was sent to me in PR. I was very excited to receive this in PR. We're now getting to the stuff that, like, I like this. Like, I actually really like this palette. I never owned it when it first came out. I've owned the Naked Honey and I've owned the Naked Reloaded, but this is a really gorgeous neutral palette. I found myself wanting to reach for this a lot. I found every time I did create a look with this palette, I really enjoyed the look. And I totally understand why this is a classic. I totally understand why this is a go-to for so many people for so many years. It's just a really good, easy to use, kind of mindless to put looks together, if that makes sense. Like, it's not really a struggle to put looks together with this. I will say the downside to this is there's only really 2 true mattes. There is this black that has sparkle, which can be used as a matte. So even with the black, there's only 3 mattes in this. And I just prefer at least a 50-50 split matte to shimmer. I actually prefer a matte heavy palette, if I'm gonna be honest with you, because I use more mattes in my looks than shimmers. I've owned other Urban Decay palettes in the past, and this is very on par with the Urban Decay formula in terms of the shimmers. Some of them are really pretty standard metallics. Some are satins. I like these satins more than the Smashbox ones. Yeah, I mean, I like that it goes light to deep. So yeah, I mean, I just enjoy other things in this countdown a little bit more. I do like this palette. I'm glad I have it in my collection. Definitely could see myself reaching for this, traveling with this, packing. I probably would have to pack another palette that has more mattes in it, just because that's my preference. But yeah, it's a good palette. The mattes, quality of the mattes is good, easy to work with, right in the middle terms of pigment, not overly pigmented. Yeah, it's a good palette. So coming in at number 5, I have the Nomad Fuji 5 Lakes palette. So, you know, I love indie eyeshadows. I just feel like indie brands do it so well. Like, they just always trying to improve their formulas. They are more innovative with their packaging. And this packaging is my favorite packaging Nomad has done. It is absolutely beautiful. It is textured like a painting on canvas. It is a work of art, literally a work of art. And I love Nomad. I always love their attention to detail. I love the themings of their collections. They are a destination-based indie brand. So they base their different collections around different destinations around the world. And this is Fuji 5 Lakes in Japan. So this is their fall release that they came out with not too long ago. I did receive this in PR, by the way. And this is what the color story looks like. Like I said, I love warm tones. I'm really glad that there is this column of reds, this column of yellows. That is my favorite part of the palette. I do really enjoy the quality of the shadows. I think the quality is very good. The mattes are very good. The shimmers are really good. This iridescent duochrome called Diamond Fuji, it is the most beautiful iridescent blue. You can top it over your look. You can put it in the inner corner. It's a really, really pretty iridescent shade. And I do love having one iridescent shade in my palettes just to have that little something, you know what I mean? The only reason this isn't like at the very top is just because it's heavily blue. And if you've been here before, you know, I'm not saying I don't love blues, but blue is my least favorite color to reach for. If I had to pick every color in the rainbow to wear on my eyes, blue is just the last color that I'm gonna choose to wear. And that's just a personal preference. There are many people who feel the literal opposite, blue is their favorite color. And if that's the case, I think you would really enjoy this, because I would say, you know, a good third of the palette is blue. So yeah, really gorgeous quality. Very, very good quality. I love, 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 love the packaging. So yeah, that's where it lands. Coming in at number 4, I have the Blend Bunny and Donnie Darkowitz Little Miss She Never Misses palette. So Blend Bunny is one of my favorite brands of all time. I think they do an amazing job with their eyeshadow palettes, and especially their mattes. They are my favorite mattes, I think, for sure. I'm still working on that video where I'm gonna talk about my favorite matte and favorite shimmer formulas across the board with all brands. And it's honestly, it's been keeping me up at night. Like, I'm kind of stressed trying to pick favorites, but Blend Bunny, spoiler alert, Blend Bunny's definitely going to be in the top 5 favorite matte formulas I've ever used. They're just effortless to blend, but they also have great pigment, and that is hard to do. A lot of times when mattes have really good pigment, they're hard to blend out, they're patchy, they get stuck to your eyeshadow primer. These just, they blend great, and the mattes in this are the good Blend Bunny quality that I expect and love. And the shimmers in this are very pretty. They are probably some of my favorite shimmers that Blend Bunny has done. They're just very sparkly, very smooth. There's only a couple of things about this palette that I personally would change. Now, it's not my palette. Okay, it's Taj's palette. She created it. I didn't. And so this is her vision, and it's a beautiful vision, and I really enjoy it. I do feel like these greens, the matte greens, I feel like there should be a little bit more difference in depth personally for me, but again, I can easily reach into something else. I've got plenty of palettes that have different depths of greens. And then these two multichromes look very, very similar to me personally. They aren't the same, but they do look very similar on the eyes to me. But I did take this. I went to a dance competition. If you didn't know, I am a professional dancer. I compete professionally, and I did take this to my last competition, and I created an absolutely beautiful look combining this and the Blends palette, because I bring the Blends palette from Blend Money anytime I go to a dance competition. That palette goes with me without question, because I know that whatever I'm missing from a palette, I can grab out of that. So I was able to combine that palette with this, and I loved the look that I created. So love this for bold looks. Like, if you're looking for bright, bold looks, is there a neutral look that you can get out of this palette? I mean, maybe, but that's not, in my opinion, I don't think that this is what it's meant for, is for neutral looks. But if you're looking for a colorful palette that's got more mid-tone to deep shades, both in the mattes and the shimmers, although there are a couple of lighter tones, but mostly mid-tone to deep, I mean, the quality is fantastic. Coming in at number 3, this is a palette I purchased myself. Everything else I've mentioned so far, I've gotten in PR, just so you know. And the last 3 that I have here, I purchased myself. This is the Beauty Bay Botanical palette. So I picked up the Beauty Bay Reckless Romance palette, and I love that palette. I think it's so good. It came in very high in my ranking all my palettes I've ranked so far this year video that I did in June. And so I was very excited when I saw this palette. The color story is beautiful, and I thought, I really want to pick this up. I really want to try it because I loved the Reckless Romance palette so much. I do think that the mattes in this aren't as good as the Reckless Romance, and particularly the light mattes. This pastel green matcha, I had a very hard time showing up on my skin tone, even when I just used a small brush and just packed it on, and I'm of a light skin tone. So I'm not sure if you were a medium or deeper skin tone, that the light mattes in this would work for you. Now, if you are and you've used this palette, let us know in the comments. I'm very curious to know. I just felt like the lighter mattes in this weren't as good pigment-wise as I experienced in the Reckless Romance palette, and I've only ever tried these 2 palettes from Beauty Bay. I don't know how consistent their formula is. The shimmers in this are very pretty, very pretty. This duochrome waterfall up here, it is like a purple. I don't know if you can see, like a purple to almost like a greenish yellow. It's very, very interesting and very pretty on the eyes. And all the rest of the shimmers are just like gorgeous, beautiful, standard shimmers. They're very smooth. They're very shiny. There's nothing too crazy about them, but I personally love just like a very shiny standard shimmer. That's what I need. I don't mind having one special shimmer in a palette. I don't need a palette full of special shimmers. And I love this color story. I feel like there's so much variety in here. You can get a neutral look, you can get a green look, you can get a cool toned grayish look, you can get a purple look, you can get more of a warm peachy look. There's so many options. It goes light to deep in the mattes and the shimmers. And yeah, it's a great price point. I'm pretty sure this is not available anymore because they tend to discontinue their palettes very quickly, unfortunately. Color story wise, beautiful. Just the lighter mattes for me aren't my favorite, but I still really love this palette a lot. All right, number 2 and number 1 are very neck and neck, and quite frankly, could switch at any moment. I think that they're very, very, very close in like my countdown, but listen, somebody's got to be number 2 and somebody's got to be number 1. So coming in at number 2, it is a palette that I'm wearing on my eyes right now, and this is the Natasha Denona I Need a Warm palette. I know that this is a boring palette, okay? But if you know me, you know I love a warm tone neutral look. It is my favorite look to wear. I could wear this palette every day. Okay, I shouldn't say that. I was gonna say every day for the rest of my life, but I don't want to. I want to wear all my palettes. But what I'm saying is I could wear this palette many, many, many times over and never get bored. Now, are the looks that different that you're gonna get out of this? No. No, I've created quite a few looks with this and they all have a slight variation to them. Some of them are a little deeper, some of them are a little lighter. We have this beautiful multi-chrome up here. When I put this on the lid, it creates a little bit of a different look. But I still really enjoy the look that I get out of this every time I wear it. And I just love Natasha Denona's quality. The mattes are just really easy to work with. They are that good pigment level where they're right in the middle, not overly pigmented, not sheer, and just very effortless. And I sometimes like that when I am in a rush and I want to still put makeup on. I still want to enjoy the experience of putting makeup on. It's very easy to just take a couple of these mattes and just slap them on, not really having to work, not really having to go back and forth and blend and blah, blah, blah. It's quick. It's very quick. And I do like that the mattes go from light to deep in here. There are a couple of mattes that I feel maybe are a little close on the eyes. These two are very close on the eye. Did we need both of these? Maybe not. But I do like that there's a very deep matte. I do like that there's a very light matte. This is a different formula. I forget what it's called. I'll put it up on the screen, what she's calling this, but it is the cream to powder formula. And I'll be honest with you, I don't really love the cream to powder formula. It's my least favorite formula from Natasha Denona. And that was my problem with the Yucca palette. I think there was like 2 or 3 cream to powders. I just don't really enjoy using that formula. So I definitely wish that this was something different. But even with that being said, I still do like using this just like on my lower lash line. I don't really like using this on my upper lid because I feel like it creases. It never really gets the pigment that I need. And then the shimmers in this are very pretty. There are some more standard smooth metallics up here. Again, are these two pretty similar? Yeah. I feel maybe one of them could have been different, but I do like it for the inner corner. You know, having a palette that has an inner corner highlight is really nice. We have these more like sparkly, I mean, I don't want to say sparkly, but more shiny, more light catching shimmers. I am wearing this one Dynamism on my lids right now, and it's just really pretty. So, I mean, I really, really like this palette. I think it's well laid out, very easy to use, and I just love a warm tone neutral look. Every time I wear a look from this palette, I really am happy with the look. So what more can I ask for? Well, I'll tell you what more I can ask for, which is the number 1 palette. And again, like I said, it's very close to the Natasha Denona one. Like these two are neck and neck for me, but this one has a little more variety and I can still create a warm neutral look out of this, but I can also create other looks, which is really nice. And that is the Glaminatrix Cosmetics Barely Basic palette. I really, really like the packaging for Glaminatrix. This is only my 2nd palette I've ever tried from the brand. The first palette that I tried was the Rich Romantic palette, which I also really enjoyed, but this one, this one is good. This one's good. Look at the color story. My favorite colors to wear besides neutrals are greens and purples. So as you can see, there is a column here where you can create a like mauvey purple look. And then there is this column right here where you can create a green look. And these are my favorite types of greens. Grungy, olive, yellow, undertoned greens. That is my favorite type of green. So Again, this is perfect. Now, this cool tone side, I mean, I'm really glad about this light matte that I can use as my inner corner highlight. I love having a matte inner corner highlight. So I love reaching into this. It's very pigmented. These two shades to me, they're good. Like I'll use them, but I don't love cool tones as much as I love warm tones, but I do like having these just to dip into if I want them. So this is very matte heavy. The mattes from Glaminatrix are pigmented. They're good, show up like they do in the pan, pretty up to pigment immediately. So I like that. I really love this row of shimmers right here. They are standard shimmers. They don't shift or anything, but they're very shiny, sparkly. They're not chunky, really gorgeous. Now, this isn't a perfect palette for me because this row up here. I really enjoy having an iridescent in my palette, but I don't personally need 4, and I don't find I'm reaching into these very often at all. If this wasn't here and it was just this palette and it was a little more inexpensive, this would be so up my alley, like almost a perfect palette. Or if there was just maybe one of these. I don't personally need 4 iridescent duochromes. It's just not something that I need, and it's not something that I find, like, looking at them, they don't really go with the rest of the palette in my opinion, but that's just me and how my brain works with makeup. But all that to say, I love this palette. I mean, it's coming in at #1 for a reason. I really enjoy it. I think it's really, really nice. The quality is great. The packaging is great. The color story is great. So this is my #1 palette of the month, of the past 6 weeks, let's say. All right, and that is it for this palette ranking. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave me a comment down below letting me know your thoughts on any of the palettes that I talked about today. Do you own them? Do you want them? Do you love them? Do you not love them? Let me know your thoughts because I love hearing from you. And if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up. That helps me out a lot when you do that. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, I would love it if you would consider subscribing before you leave. I do upload videos weekly, and I'd love to see you back on my channel again. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.